What is up, everybody? Jack here from Half Chrome, and today I want to talk a little bit more about this. This is the DJI Mini SE, and I said that this is the best drone that you can get for less than $300, and I think that is true if you're interested in getting into videography or photography, right? You want to take good pictures and video with your drone. Now, there are a handful of drones out there that seemingly have better specs than this at a lower price point. You know, there are drones that claim to have 4K and follow me. This doesn't have either of those things. So is it really better? Well, let's take a look at some of those drones and how they actually compare to this. Okay, so here are your competitors. This is the MJX Bugs 16 Pro. This has a 4K camera and a 28-minute flight time to go along with Follow Me in orbit and a handful of different intelligent flight modes. And over here, I've got the Sjrc F7, also has a 4K camera, 25-minute flight time, Follow Me, handful of intelligent flight modes as well. Now, you can actually get both of these drones for less than $300. They're actually a little bit cheaper than the DJI Mini SE, depending on where you buy them. So if you're really interested in these things, I have some links to where those are, but I think in the end, you may side with the SE. Now, these guys are actually sold under a ton of different names on Amazon and other places. So, for example, this one here is the DJI F7, and I've seen it for like $400. Same thing with this guy, the MJX, also rebranded and sold on Amazon for close to $400. Now, if you're just looking at the specs, that may seem like a decent deal, but let's take a look at what they're actually producing. The big question is, can the 2.7K video of this Mavic Mini stand up to the 4K video coming out of some of these other drones? Now, remember, resolution isn't the only factor. We got to look at sensor size, gimbal quality, and all of that, right? All of these have 3-axis gimbals. The bitrate and frame rate are also big factors in the quality of the video. Okay, so I'm going to fly a pattern here with all three of these drones. First, the Sjrc F7. I'm getting it up in the air and I'm kind of getting it into position. And you can kind of see that it just isn't super stable, right? It isn't a very stable drone. It is GPS. I had plenty of satellites here, but it's not as stable as either of the next two drones that will fly. Now, this video here was recorded in 4K, right, at 15 frames a second. That's the best it'll do, and 15 megabytes per second, which also isn't super great. I'll let you kind of judge the quality yourself. You know, the colors, I didn't change them. This is what they look like out of the box. You know, I wasn't super confident flying this drone. So there's that. You know, the app is okay. We'll take a look at the app here in a minute. I'm going to kind of turn this around. You can kind of see some of that stutter as I yaw, and that's due to a low frame rate. You know, it does have a 3,000 meter range. I would definitely not fly it that far. I'm going to fly time of up to 20 minutes. Now, it does have some other cool features. You can zoom. It says up to 50 times, but when you look at that, it's a digital zoom, right? You're just not going to be able to see what's going on. And it does have Follow Me, which the DJI Mini doesn't have. But just keep in mind, this is a GPS follow, meaning it's following the remote control. Now, it claims to have, you know, like an optical follow where you kind of draw a picture on a subject, but it just doesn't work. So you can see I'm not in the center of the frame here. And I do have control over the drone, so I can kind of move it up or down, or kind of work with the gimbal if I wanted to, but it's not, you know, you can see it lost me here, and I'm kind of working the gimbal. That's probably not what you want to have to be doing. You just want the drone to follow you, right? All right, next up is the MJX Bugs 16 or Bugs 16 Pro. And once upon a time, I used to say this was my favorite beginner drone at about $240, $250. I find it to be a little bit more stable than the F7 that we just flew. Now, this one is recording at 4K also, 4K, 30 frames a second. We have a higher bit rate of 50, which is definitely nice, right? So that just kind of is like the right speed, how much information it can kind of process and write. But there are also some other problems going on, right? At times you'll see the propellers in the upper right and left-hand corners. That's kind of disappointing. And this drone has a shorter range than the other two at just 600 meters. And actually, right around here, Chris lost he lost his signal to the drone. He wasn't able to see the picture. So he's kind of, he was flying this one here, kind of trying to figure out, you know, where is this drone? What's going on? And you can kind of just see that here. Right about here, he kind of walked a little bit closer, got video back, and we'll start to push this drone back so we get kind of a similar shot. I do like the colors. I think this camera is actually pretty darn good. But I do think it could be better. All right, so it has a 600 meter range, like I said, and a flight time of 28 minutes, which, hey, not bad. You know, keep in mind, you're not going to get manufacturer flight time out of pretty much any drone, DJI included. Now let's take a look at the follow me with the bugs here. You know, similar to the F7, it's a GPS follow based on where the remote controller is, right? So it's following me in with the remote controller in my hand, right? So as I walk, it does follow me, but again, I'm not centered in the frame, so I have to do some work in order to make that happen. So I guess maybe it is better than not having follow me at all, right? DJI doesn't put follow me on drones that don't have obstacle avoidance. You know, they don't want to deal with that headache. But is it, you know, how good is this? That's for you to decide. Okay, so now we're going to look at the DJI Mini SE. And this was the most stable of the three drones. I felt the most confident flying it. Just the way that it handled and responded to the stick inputs was clearly superior, right? I flew this thing, Chris flew this thing, and we both agree it's more stable. It handled the wind better. It's just, you know, in terms of flying it, a more enjoyable experience. Plus, you know, the DJI app is pretty darn intuitive. So this is 2.7K. It's not 4K. You know, does it look as good, if not better, than 4K? Yeah, I think so, right? That's, you know, 4K a lot of times is just upscaled. Now, this was at 30 frames per second and at a write speed of 40 megabytes. So keep that in mind. Those are kind of the specs. But, you know, these are colors that I did not touch, right? This is just straight out of the box. Now, the Mini has a range of 4,000 meters. That's like 2.5 miles. And it outperformed these other two drones for sure. It's supposed to, right? And it does have a flight time of 30 minutes, so you can fly it for quite some time. Now, again, you're not going to get 30 minutes out of this drone, but you're going to get a good chunk of that, right? You can probably expect 24, 25 minutes pretty much every flight, right? It just is smooth and easy to fly. You know, it does have its own intelligent flight modes. There's the droney, there's the orbit or the circle. The helix is a really good one, but there is not a follow me, right? So you do have to kind of keep that in mind. But then again, do you want a follow me like one of those other drones? You know, I don't know. That's a decision you're going to have to make. But I think personally that this camera just is better, right? It's better than those other ones. So, you know, you gotta kind of have to think, right? At $299, is this what you want? Or do you want to sacrifice some of this camera quality, the ease of use, the stability, you know, for $50 or so? I can't make that decision. You're going to have to do it. I'll let you make your own decisions on what drones you want to buy. But when it comes down to it, you know, for $300, I think the SE is king, right? Between $200 and $300, you're going to find a lot of drones that tend to perform a lot like what we've seen. I would say, you know, at $199, these might be decent places to start. They're decent places to start if you have a really fixed budget and you can't stretch it to $300. Now, once you get under $200, that's a different category of drone, right? You really can't be expecting to get a whole lot. In the end, this really is a pretty fantastic drone. Plus, it's under 250 grams. That's actually a really big factor. Both of those other drones over 250 grams, which means they have to be registered with the FAA. And if you're in other countries, there are certainly other restrictions that will apply. So what do you think? Am I on? Did I miss something? Are those drones as good as this? Well, let me know in the comments down below. Anyway, I hope this was helpful. Good luck, everybody, and happy flying.